Hi everyone, this is Bruno from House of Falcone. I am very excited today because finally I get to spend some time with not one but two intimacy and sex coach experts. This is Katrina Vijakovsky and James King. How are you, everyone? So lovely to have you here.
Thank you, Bruno. It's an honor to be here with you. Finally, this is a long time coming.
I know. James?
Hey, I'm super excited to be here. I've seen you doing like so many events and everything else, so finally good to connect.
I love it. Guys, I'm gonna kick it off first by I want you to tell all of the people that are listening what makes you special, what makes you different, and why would people want to work with you? We'll kick off with Katrina.
Yeah, so in addition to being Lady O, the orgasm lady, what I actually am is a certified clear energy therapist, meaning in a one-on-one coaching session, I can find your exact fear, the exact limiting belief, the exact emotions that are holding you back, and those thoughts that get trapped in a loop, and I can remove them for you permanently. So once I applied that skill to the sex and intimacy space, it was an absolute game changer.
That is very interesting. And for people that might not know, what is the old lady?
Yeah, so I use multiple orgasms purposefully and intentionally with my clients, and I teach them how to manifest the energy of that. Because when you're having orgasms, you can open up a portal, which is just magic portal, which will bring in more abundance, more creativity, and more love into your life. So instead of just, let's just have sex or quick hurry up, we're using sex in a really powerful way because that sexual energy is so potent and you can use it to uplift every single area of your life.
That is awesome. Mr. James King, tell me same questions. Tell everyone what is so special and how can people work with you and why should they?
Yeah, so in the space, there's a lot of like extremists. And what I mean by that is that they can go like very woo-woo, like to the nth degree extreme, Ubud Bali, which can be like too much for some people. Then on the other side, there is like the hardcore like kink, BDSM, and that is a lot for most people. So what I try and do is take the principles and the foundations and the great elements from those. So both those have like things around negotiation, communication, all of that. And I bring it back in more like layman's terms for the average person who doesn't want to go to those extremes, but maybe they just want to have it more like advanced sexuality, deeper connection, or just really explore things that are new and keep that like passion alive or bring the passion and the spark back.
Wow, that's awesome. And I mean, like this could go to both of you. I mean, and I think from now we can literally try. This is a Zoom connection. We can try and just like bounce off each other. I would say, what stops people from getting in contact with you, or like what stops people from making the first steps towards their better sexual selves?
I think it's a mix of some people, it's fear of judgment. There is a lot of guilt as well, especially with men. Like there are very, very successful men in like every area of life, except for in the bedroom and in their relationships. And it's a really hard thing for men, especially, to admit and have to like own that. And that's what I face a lot, as well as male ego is again one of the biggest things because they just don't want to go into that, or there's a fear of opening up and being vulnerable and, like I said, admitting there is a problem. So yeah, I think that's on the men's side, which I have more of a focus on in the past. What would you say, Katrina?
Yeah, I would say number one for women is permission. A lot of people were raised with a lot of sexual shame, a lot of guilt. We as a society have had a purposeful submission and suppression of women's sexuality. So people who don't like to talk about it or ashamed, or things may not feel quite right, or they could be in pain, but they actually don't have anywhere to go or anyone to speak about with. Another thing is a mindset shift that people just actually have no idea what's possible. Because a lot of people come to me and go, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm having great sex with my husband. I have an orgasm every time. I'm like, wonderful. That is great. but do you know how to have 2 or 3 or 5 or 7? And their eyes just kind of like pop out of their head. I'm like, you may be, I talk to a lot of people, and before they met me, they were just thinking, yep, it's cool. There's no problem. We're having sex a couple of times a week and it's good. We have a good time. Okay, but are you having a great time? Are you using that sexual energy? And when you're man and woman, you can use it in a figure 8 to just amplify everything from the bedroom into every other area of your life: parenting, business, money, holidays, anything.
But isn't it like the two to even like every day, like to twice a week to every day, kind of like the beginning of a relationship where, you know, you two just met and you're like in this state or something. I mean, like I think there will be like a lot of people that they've been together for many, many years, and then that's not quite the same, right? There's a million things in the middle. Like, how do you overcome that?
Well, it's a limiting belief, and that's a societal trend, but it doesn't have to be that way in every relationship. Because if you, as a man who said, oh, I've been married for 15 years and now we only have sex once a month, every other guy at the pub's going to go, oh, yeah, mate, that's normal. Come into me or come to James. I was like, well, are you okay with that? Do you want to only be having sex once a month? And I actually now I used to only work with women, and now I'm getting a lot more men coming to me, and I just applaud them for being so brave, but they're in sexless marriage and they don't know what to do about it because they've tried and tried and tried to advance on their wife, and she's saying no. And eventually a man's going to give up because it hurts too much. He doesn't want to get rejected again. So this space, I never thought I would find myself in, but because I've worked with 1, 2, 3, more and more are coming because they know I can help them. And it's like, well, I can teach you how to drop your own fears in that space, to change your thoughts and crack your own limiting beliefs. Because even our coaches, we all have the same business coach in JT Fox, and he will talk a lot about limiting beliefs, but who can actually do anything about it? I can physically find it, remove it, and you don't have it anymore. So once we do that, we come back from another space where he can approach his wife, not from, honey, I'm really horny, to, honey, I can tell that you're really upset about something, or you're not feeling as confident as you used to be.
Right. James, what do you think?
Yeah, so like Katrina said, I think it is a societal belief, the whole that the honeymoon phase has to end. It doesn't, right? The first thing is understanding that there are seasons in a relationship. So there are going to be times where you can be more intimate and focus more on that. But then there are going to be times where maybe children come into the mix, or that just life gets hectic. So it's not punishing or shaming yourself or your partner around that side. But then the other thing is, if you have the same meal 3 times a day, every day for the rest of your life, you're going to get pretty bored of that and sick of it, right? And from a bunch of research through my own experiences, clients' experiences, and a lot of other people I've spoken to, a lot of the time, people are just having missionary with eye contact. And that's about all they're getting. And there's no spice, there's no variety. So the fun, then all that stuff that happens at the start of the relationship, the exploring each other's bodies, exploring each other's fantasies, desires, and all of that, that goes out the window because they're like, oh, I think I know what works, or I have some experience. I'm just going to jump straight to that thing. And we lose that playfulness. We lose the fun, the exploration of it all. But when you can tap back into that, and then that's where I'm talking about having like different experiences, whether it is going down the more like fun, exciting new toys or whatever, or going down the really deep connecting stuff. So it's just bringing in more, and there's a lot of studies proven through animals, humans, everything. Novelty is something that keeps us constantly excited and ready for the new thing. So if you can keep introducing new ideas, keep understanding your partner's mind and body to new levels, you'll never get bored, because there's always going to be like something the next time or a new thing to explore, and it becomes a collaborative process.
What are 3 or like some advice that you might have on how to discover that novelty, like how to have that next thing, or how to discover the playfulness again?
So the first thing is literally having a conversation. A lot of times people are like, they have desires. It's something that they've seen in a movie. Maybe they've seen it in porn. Maybe they've read it in a book. But they've been afraid to bring that up to their partner because they're afraid of that judgment of what they're going to think. But if you can create that space of non-judgmental, it's like, hey, babe, I just want to like have great experiences with you. I want to like every time we have sex to be better and better than the last. Like, what can we do? There is going to be that interest and like that you can start from, which might be a low level experience, but then it's like, oh shit, I really like this. This is actually really cool. Oh, I really like this as well. And then it keeps amping up. And I think one other like really quick, easy one that anyone can do literally this week is go to a sex toy shop, right? And a fun date idea that I like to give my clients is each of you walks around the shop, you pick out 3 things that you are interested in that you would like to try, and then you bring it to your partner, and then you each pick one thing from the other person's basket, and then you go home and try those 2 things.
Yeah, that's funny. Katrina, what would it be? Again, same thing. Like a good practical way to reignite that spark.
Yeah, a really funny saying, or not funny saying, but an interesting saying was great sex on Wednesday night can start on Tuesday morning. So it can be just a cup of tea made or a cup of coffee or, a touch on the face, or a lot of people, touch on the ass, or just, even arms and forearms is that connecting and eye contact. And saying what you appreciate about your partner, saying thank you so much for the way you held me last night, or reference the last time that you had a great time with sex. I really liked it when you did this. I really liked being touched this way. I loved it when you said XYZ, or I loved it when you brought me flowers, or anything that was meaningful to you that your partner has done. Reinforce that, because that is it's a human psychology of rewarding that behavior. And also, people get too nitty-gritty on the bad things. I say you don't need to focus so much on them. Focus more on what's working well, what's positive, what you enjoy. If it comes up again and there's something that's a deal breaker or very uncomfortable, absolutely need to address it, but that shouldn't be the focus. So really appreciating your partner and bringing up the new thing, or wanting to try something new without hurting people's ego, is a very delicate balance, because a lot of people can shut down when they're feeling the guilt, shame, or being judged. So there are ways in which we discover. So an example might be, hey, I thought that, since we've been together for a while, we might like to try this. And it's like the frog in the hot water situation. You don't want to start with hot wax and forks, like, if you've never done that before, but we want to try things subtly, which is a sexy text message, which a lot of people have never tried because they're embarrassed. But again, it can be just really subtle, like, I like your this, or I like it when you this. And just, if he's never received one, imagine he's at work and he's used to getting texts from you, hey, pick up the chicken on the way home, and he gets that, it's going to ignite that fire in him again.
Somebody, right-brained, and somebody like tuned in with their emotions, somebody that can take the heat, like, quote unquote, might be able to do, right? But how would you deal with somebody that, where those little, like, those advice is a little bit too advanced? Like, what's a starter pack, like, more basic thing for them to do? Like, because I don't know if you agree, like, this is like the voice of the people. Like, I'm just saying that I think in general, like, I understand where you guys coming from, but I also understand a more, shut off, traditional, left brain type of person. What would you suggest in that case?
So first up, like it all comes to self, right? This goes for men or women. We all have desires, fantasies, things that excite us, right? Whether that is just the naked form, there is just stimulation in how like our bodies interact to touch. So something that I encourage, and something that's a lot of women tend to intuitively know, is when they have their alone time and masturbation time, they tend to make this like a bit of a ritual. Like they might turn on put some candles on, put some music, get really in tune, because for a woman to orgasm, she has to really switch off her mind. And guys, we kind of just like, oh, okay, I need to jerk off, I need to masturbate. I'm just going to do it real quick and be done. But I encourage all my clients, one, it's bad because if you train your body like that, you're training like for a marathon as a sprinter, right? So if you're just jerking off as quick as you can to a video or whatever, it's not going to like it's going to seriously impact the quality and the length of the sex that you can be having. So for the men, it's about again being in touch with your body. You're gonna if you take like a whole night, like a couple hours, you just lay down, put on some sexy music, like make like the room like feel amazing and actually touch all over your body, right? You might find erogenous zones and things that you never knew excited you, right? Then both partners, if they did this separately, can come together and be like, "Hey, babe, I kind of realized that I really like when my neck is touched. Like, could you kiss it for me? Could you breathe on it? Could you lick it?" So everything like the basic, if someone can't be comfortable with themselves in their own pleasure on their own, it is going to be very difficult for them to step into that next paradigm of, being able to communicate that with a partner. But that ends up being like one of the biggest blocks in people having great sex is, they will have sex, but they won't talk about it, or they have it, but they still have a lot of that shame and guilt. And men, especially, they seem to see their cocks as something separate. Like sometimes it's something evil or bad based on upbringing, religion, all this kind of stuff. So getting in touch with it is a major thing, and not going as hard and as fast as you can, but actually taking those time to be like more sensual and slow. And you can actually start to tap into again what is new, exciting, and all these things that you've never like experienced before. So that's what I'd say for both of them to kickstart things. Without that, it is really hard to be able to kind of go to that next level.
All right. Katrina, what do you think? Kickstart, something like more people might be able to like do on a first go.
Yeah, so really, really basic level is you have to make it about the other person, not you. And I know that's really hard to do because if you're starved of affection or attention or sex, and sometimes there's a bit of resentment there and you're kind of starting to, even attraction has faded a little bit, it's really hard. But if you're the one that wants more of that, you're going to have to fill their bucket first. Sometimes you have to be brave. You have to be the one. You have to be the one that takes the leadership in this way. Otherwise, if you don't, you're just going to grow further and further apart. So by coming back to, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the love languages. So some people really like touch, but often in partnerships, particularly long-term marriages, the thing that's one person's number one is the other person's number 5. So when you're giving love, they're not hearing it or receiving it. And the same way, some people might value work and work really hard and make a lot of money, but if she doesn't value that, she's not going to think to thank you for that. It's the same as gifts. Some people love gifts, and it's like, if you don't get me a good anniversary gift, birthday gift, then you don't love me. Whereas the other person could be like, I don't care if you give me gifts. I just want you to tell me I'm beautiful. So we all give and receive love differently. So if you can think of something that your partner does really consistently, really reliably, and really brings value to the family or the relationship, acknowledging them for that and saying, I love how hard you work, or I love that you always clean up after dinner, or I love that you remember to take the trash out every Tuesday, or whatever it is. Because if their bucket's empty too and they're like dehydrated with an empty cup, they have no love to give you because their cup is dry and empty. So if you can start to fill their cup a little bit in relationships, you'll be very surprised at how quickly that can build on each other. As humans, if someone compliments us, it is our natural instinct to say, oh, and give something back. So I would start at the very basic level by giving, and start with words or compliment or a little note if that's your thing. But really try to notice those things about your partner that you do find attractive or you used to find attractive. Because if they haven't heard it for a while, that's really going to start to bridge that gap.
Yeah. Well, I think I've even myself, like I've seen a video online and they were talking about how sometimes within sexless relationships, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of like a negative field that blocks like the actual like sexual attraction, right? So you might be in this video, like it was saying how like you're the same people, like you most likely love your partner, but then at the same time you might be upset about something, and all of that upset compounds during the weeks and months and years. So I mean, and this is a little bit more, I guess, like I can hear it as I'm asking the question, but it sounds a little bit more based on, I guess, like communication and maybe based on like how would you like kickstart that situation? Because I think this goes further than sex, but then sex has a part in it.
Absolutely. And it affects every part of your being. And the way I could describe it is our energy system, as I've said before, and what I do is just outside your body. So we have this layer of fear. And I'm sure you've met people that are just not afraid. They'll just scour buildings, and kids that will climb and they'll walk on ledges. They're not afraid. They have a really thin fear layer. Whereas other people have a really thick one. And it's like they're afraid of their own shadow. We all know people like that. And so you've got to understand that everything that's coming from the wife, she's saying it, but it's going through her fear layer first, and then it's going through his fear layer before he can even hear it. And we also have an emotional layer. So that fear and resentment is literally sitting between you. It is literally between you. Everything I say to my partner, he's hearing through his emotional layer. She is always just taking, she doesn't touch me anymore. She doesn't love me anymore. I'd rather be with my secretary. Where they're coming to me. And I've had men, God bless them, and they say, I've had offers and I will not cheat on my wife, but she's not giving me anything. And so it actually is, as I said, clear energy therapy. I can actually find them and remove them. They can just dissipate and they can be removed. But at first you have to look in a session with me. You actually don't even have to tell me the story. You don't have to know why. We can do it. But in regards to that, if you're not going to invest in that, that's fine. But maybe just writing it down. I'm angry because I hate it when I'm so frustrated that. Because when you get it out on paper, it's also a subconscious stream of consciousness where if you just wrote for 15 minutes, the crux of the issue would come out because it's all in your subconscious. And just, because often men talk to men and they're not really good at helping each other, whereas that's where a therapist or someone who's can ask
external. Yeah, that's right.
And get to the crux of it. But if you're on your own and you're embarrassed, honestly, a sheet of paper and a pen is going to be your best friend.
Oh, I love that. James, what would you say about that? Like, how do you unlock that moment, right? Like, and this is obviously from a man's perspective, and like, what would a man have to do?
Well, it was pretty much touched on before, which is like one of the biggest like reasons for relationship breakdowns is communication. And most of the time it's the things that were not said and the expectations that were not said. So the biggest thing is like both of you being ready to come to the table, being like, hey, like the relationship might not be where we're wanting it to be. It might not be the same as what it used to be. Like, are we willing to work together to get it back to this point? And then if this has been like years and years of things being swept under the rug, there is going to be this big mountain there. But it's not about looking at it being like, well, there's no point. It's about segregating like parts of it off and breaking it down and over like time really addressing things. So starting off with the first thing, like the biggest point, and then going down. And I have a really cool exercise for this. And I would say only do it maximum like twice each time you do this, and then give it a week. So it's called the 4-2-1-2. So person A, so say it's the guy, hit for 4 minutes. He talks about from the last time, all the good things that have been done, like that she has done, whether it's like something she worked on from the last conversation, whatever it is, ways that he felt loved and appreciated, as well as anything that has happened in the last week or the last time they did this that is frustrating or that he feels he was neglected or missed or anything like that. So both the positives and the negatives from the last time. Now, she then has 2 minutes to repeat back because, again, what Katrina was saying before is sometimes we don't hear what was actually said. And then we're basing it off these assumptions that we made. So when you repeat it back, one, it shows that they were listening. And two, if something warped in between what was said and what was meant in her explaining it back, he can be like, no, that after the 2 minutes is like, he has 1 minute to be like, hey, actually, this wasn't meant in this way. What I actually meant was like this. And he has 1 minute to clarify anything that she expressed during that. And again, that part is just repeating back what she heard. And then the final 2 minutes after he's done the 1 minute of clarifying is for her to talk about how what he has shared has affected her and her sort of game plan going forward for until their next one, which could be a week from now. And then you flip it. So now it's her time to do the 4 minutes of this, that, and it keeps going down. So again, it's a lot to do. You can't defeat the mountain in the first night of doing this, but it's seeing it as like this active thing to do. And I encourage people to do it weekly at first. And then as time goes, as the communication gets better, stronger, they might go out to, every 2 weeks or, once a month or whatever. But this is like really good for accountability as well, because you might ask for a change in behavior or a habit or whatever. But if they've got 5 years of doing this habit, they're not going to be able to just snap out of it immediately. Doesn't mean that they don't care. It doesn't mean that they don't love you or anything like that. They just forgot. Like, it's a new thing. So being able to have that little reminder is like, hey, last week, like, we spoke about this, and I know you tried for like the first couple days, but I just felt that it got forgotten or left behind. So I do want to like put a bit more of a focus on that. Like, was there anything that, we need to do, anything that I can help, like changing this habit and all that kind of stuff? And that's a conversation to sort of start having a bit more after that 4212. But at least it's a fun little game to kind of get everything started. And it's not about taking offense. It's not about taking it as ego hits or anything like that. Like, seeing it as this is a collaborative process, and everything assume is phrased in the most positive intent. Because a lot of people, something gets said and they take it negatively. It's like, but if you take a moment and we'll flip it and we're like, okay, but what if they meant it positively? That's usually how they meant it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I like that. The both of you have a very practical approach to it, and it's and in both cases, the both of you like really like express like a clear intention of communication, and it's about really starting that discourse and that conversation. The one thing I noticed is that obviously, like until now, we talked about the partner. So like we talked about communication to open up with the partner. We communicate, or we talked about things to do that where we involve the partner as well. For 1 second, I would like to flip it to like the person, right? Like the person that is is within the relationship, and kind of like probably have an understanding how, let's say, how because we talked about fear a lot. We talked about wanting to communicate. So how does one person is affected by, I guess, their own pride, or how does one person gets affected by their own confidence, right? And what are the steps that one can take to tackle those issues, right? So let's we can start again from you, Katrina. But the idea again is, does confidence affect the person within the relationship, self-worth, or that feeling, and how do you go against it? How do you heal yourself?
Yeah, it's a big problem, and it's a big thing, and it's a lot of work as well on yourself. You have to catch yourself with those thoughts, with those things. Is how you see yourself, is having a good hard look in the mirror. And a really interesting fact is that women who are high in estrogen, which is women, often look in the mirror and they put themselves a few points under. They look at their bad things. They see themselves as less attractive than what men would see them. Whereas men look in the mirror and they actually give themselves a few more points. They think that they're a lot hotter than they are, which you can see how this would play out in society and relationships, where men are just like, she's naked, good to go. Like, he does not care about her. Whereas women are thinking, I'm too fat, or I haven't shaved, or I'm this, I'm that. Tell me, am I right? Men do not care if she's right there. We don't really care about that.
Some men doesn't. Some men do not.
Hey, if you
say
no. But the point is that you spend your entire life with yourself. And I always say, well, what's the alternative? If you are so resistant to change, so resistant to address it, and you're still having a sexless relationship, or you're still single, or you're still unhappy, you're living in that unhappiness and choosing that beyond some growth where there's a possibility for fun, excitement, joy, sex, pleasure, all of the good things. And it will be the same in business, right? Well, I want to achieve these goals. Okay, well, here's the KPIs you need to meet. And I often say relationships are like business, but the most important relationship is that one with yourself. And you've got to understand that that pride was given to you by some other person, which could have been your father or your mother or an auntie or a grandmother that said, we don't do that. You don't do that. You don't say that. We don't do that. Ladies act like this, or young gentlemen act like this. And we get these little beliefs that get stuck in our system from when we're very young and imprinted on us. So then when you're an adult, you get to be an adult and you get to decide for you. And as I said, are you going to live by your great grandmother's, rules, who's no longer here and not, in your life? Or are you going to decide for yourself, you know what, maybe it's time that I do something for me? And you're allowed. This is where I said permission is number one thing for women. You're allowed to want to have sex. You're allowed to have multiple orgasms. You're allowed to have fun. And also when you're looking in the mirror, you might want to ask that question, well, how much fun am I to live with? If you're always, I say women are so hard on men, you're always nagging and always criticizing, you're not that fun to live with. He's coming home to you, God bless him, but he doesn't want to just take day after day after day of criticism. So it's important for you to really acknowledge, like, on a daily basis, how many times are you thinking these negative thoughts? How many times are you speaking these negative thoughts? How many times are you embodying this and verbalizing this to the people and to yourself? And really just saying, you know what? Again, like how I instructed or advised you might do it to a partner, is say, well, I really like my eyes, or I really like that I'm kind, or I really like that I work hard, and start to give a bit of that love back to yourself.
It's very interesting, like you speaking about permission, right? Like talking about permission to yourself. Obviously we have we do very different things in the world, but one of the things that I know that I do whenever like I meet with clients, I notice that sometimes there is a block, sometimes there is a moment where they don't allow themselves to, I guess, like feel better and get themselves, in a different state. Obviously, like by doing like custom clothing, I always see like the reaction straight away as soon as they get that, the new suit, new clothing, because it's the way they look at themselves in the mirror, right? Like the way that they stand, the way they look at themselves. Like you can tell that they have transcended like the person they were before. But at the same time, before that happens, there's always that moment where it's almost like you can see it. They're having a conversation with themselves and they say, I'm not allowed. Like, I'm not allowed to do this.
Yes.
Sometimes they mask it by, in what I do specifically, there will be conversations such as, when I achieve this, when I do this, I will reward myself. When I do that, I'll do that for me. Or very, very common, when I lose weight or when I do something, I'll then do that. I know that, and that is very, it's almost like such a big self-sabotage, because I know that, within that journey, there is no reason, like you said, to be in that state, to be that person that isn't allowing themselves to be a better version of themselves. And, within about taking care of yourself and allowing yourself and loving yourself. So I love that you mentioned, that permission part of it, which is, I think it will be a big one for a lot of people. And James, same question to you. Like, what do you, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so as you guys were talking, like the biggest thing that I think came to me was like first up admitting, like, if you don't have the relationship that you want, like being able to say like, okay, I'm unhappy with this. And the second thing is taking responsibility, right? Because a lot of times I hear it all the time. It's like, oh, my partner is this, it's like they're a victim, right? It's my partner's fault. It's everyone else's fault. But it's like, when you're a victim, you have no control. You have no way of getting out of that. Everything is just happening to you. But if you take responsibility and be like, okay, I'm in a sexless marriage right now, there's probably some mistakes that I've made going forward, like through this. What am I going to do to work on this? And the crux of this point was about like for themselves, and it's like what kind of healing and all that kind of stuff. And that is doing the research on, okay, what is like attachment style? Like, am I like, how have I constantly reacted in all my previous relationships? Like looking at my previous blueprint, looking at her blueprint, like, are we very much not compatible because our love languages are completely opposites? Doesn't mean it can't work, but it's going to take a lot more communication and teamwork to understand each other and create all these, like I said before, like little habits to make sure you're both understanding each other, you're both feeling loved and all of that. But there is a lot of self-sabotage in relationships, people falling into habits of like things that they witnessed, like their definition of love from what they witnessed as their parents or like growing up, like all these things, like so much childhood trauma stuff will impact everything in the relationship. So if you don't like do the research, don't do whatever healing in like, and it can be just shame, guilt, it can be that religious side as well. Like there are a lot of people that have it's not that you forsake religion or anything like that, but there are people that are able to combine the two and find that middle ground. Like religion isn't against sex and pleasure and all that kind of stuff, as some people might want you to believe, or like, you know, especially growing up and all of that. So it's about first that discovery, admitting that there is, and understand that once you do that and you're like, okay, I'm not going to be a victim, I can do something about it. And then it's just about like, do I find someone that can, you know, shorten the path and, you know, lead me there and give me answers? Or am I going to just research it more on my own till I have like a bit more clarity or what's going on? But if you don't make any changes, nothing is going to change. If you don't look inward, nothing's going to change. And you can't be putting everything on everyone else all the time. Like I said, otherwise you're going to be a victim for the rest of your life. So you've got to make that decision to take responsibility and then take action.
I love it. Well, to be honest with you, I mean, to that point, the responsibility is such a big thing. I feel like even within my values, but I'll give you like a very, very quick example of why responsibility is so important. I know that myself, like you guys know me now, like you know what I do and the fun parts, the celebrities, the traveling, like the business. But there was a moment in my life where um, I was very upset about, and that was for many years. I was very upset about and very unhappy with my life and where I was. And a lot of the faults I will give it to how I grew up, in what circumstances I grew up. And and you know, like I'll tell you that, like I mean, this is I don't like to speak about this very often, but I know that there was a moment where uh, you know, I was like around 30 years old, and I said to myself, how much of my life now is because of how I grew up and because of my parents or because of the circumstances. I mean, now I've been out of the house for 10 years. So how much it's their fault and how much is my fault? And you know, taking responsibility was like very tough. I still remember it was definitely a moment where you know, I had that inward look at myself and I thought, you know, it was very tough to accept responsibility. But then everything after that conversation with myself, everything changed. It wasn't, you know, to be clear, it wasn't like I spoke to myself one day and then, you know, everything changed the next day. But it was definitely a journey then. And then ever since I made that decision to accept responsibility, that everything changed in my life. So I can understand how responsibility within the relationship has such a massive impact. So like it's very interesting to hear like both of those versions. The other, I mean, like connecting to this, like we talked about looking inward, and now one of a very good curiosity that I have is looking outward, right? Like looking how some of your clients live their life. So how do they, you know, the type of habits that they have, like hygiene, how do they look, how do they dress themselves, like, how they present. Like, I'm very curious to draw sort of like a connecting dot there. In your experience, and this is like specifically your clients, is there a difference when they look after themselves versus when they don't? So looking after themselves means, grooming themselves, taking care of their appearance, dressing well, putting some perfume. What are the differences? And have you had a client that wasn't doing that and then did, and then had a different outcome? Like, uh, whoever wants to start first. Katrina,
Yeah.
do you have a? Oh, James, yeah, you got some examples?
Yeah, because I have two perfect ones for this. So first guy, he was single, and literally one of the easiest, quickest ways to, like up your confidence, looks, all that kind of stuff is literally getting better fitting clothes, some that are actually stylish, getting groomed. Like the amount of guys that are like, oh, like no girls want me, and they've got like massive unruly beard, like, hair that they've never like looked at before, like the worst haircut for their like head, and clothes that are too big, too small, and all of that. You can just change everything with that and a couple like, specific photos. Now, when it was with a guy who had been in a relationship for a while, and this will go for women as well, we get comfortable. So we stop dressing up for partners. Like all that effort you did in the dating phase of always looking your best, putting that little extra effort in. Now it's all like, maybe it is just gym shorts and like, comfy, all of this, right? And sweaters. But it's like when you take that time to actually like dress up, surprise your partners, like that makes like all the difference. And with one client, he actually, I was working on this with him, and he actually dropped the ball in one area because he went, like, made a lot of progress and then he got comfortable. She went on a trip, and then they were like looked at like video calling each other, and she was actually disappointed that he didn't like put some effort into dressing up for her on camera, right? Because again, he's been going through all this transformation, and then he was like, okay, now it's like, whatever. And for her, that took her straight back to, oh, this is only a short-term temporary thing. And then we're going to fall back into this comfortable zone. So it's not saying that you can never like look unruly and stuff around your partner or not looking at whatever. It's about putting that effort in and still dating your partner. Doesn't matter if you've been married for 20 years, you should still be dating them.
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting because, like growing up as an Italian, and this is like me being very honest, I always, culturally, I was taught to present myself at the very best in all occasions, right? And this is like something that goes back to like, school. Like in Italy, we even public or private schools, we don't have uniforms, for example. It's one of the things that, like culturally, be living in Australia, I find it um, more than challenging. It makes me understand why some people have some trouble, looking the very best after school, right? But like I grew up in co-ed schools, so you have like your little girlfriend, or you have like all of your friends that are girls. So when you go to school, like you were in this society where you have both men and women, and when you wouldn't take care of yourself, you kind of have I call it a personal branding. There's a lot of people they always like think of personal branding just within the business setting, but I honestly believe that you are your personal branding, your personal brand, whatever situation you are. So, you kind of are growing into these like personal branding archetype in school. And then, so, like you could be like the cool, for boys to be like the cool guy with like, like the all the school, like kind of like want to hang out with you and girls like you and boys want to spend time with you. And then you have the girls, like you have like, the popular girls, or like the ones that are very academic, or so on, right? So this is how I grew up. And then, so from the start, I was faced to quote unquote judgment, like within my regular life. So then it became my own personality trait to take care of myself. So it was never like, I wanted to link it very quickly to what you said about your client, that, took all of these steps to get into like a different mode, and then it revert back in the moment that it felt like, oh, it's all fixed. I'm comfortable like with this relationship. Let me be myself. The true self, myself, it is the person that I'm always am, groomed, taking care of myself. And so sometimes whenever I meet some of my clients, I always tell them that this cannot be the one thing to wear in the one occasion. It needs to be something that they need to recognize themselves in, and they need to embrace it at their own skin. That's why I'm actually against suits, believe it or not. Like, I am against suits because not everybody is cut out for a suit.
Yeah.
I'm for confidence, power, and feeling themselves in their own skin. So whenever I meet somebody that they're like, oh, but I don't really wear suits, I was like, yeah, great. Let's talk about how we can fix this and elevate you to the next level. So, and a lot of people, they always misunderstand what I do, because it's about understanding that person and say, what is your personal brand? Who are the people that you're dealing with? And in this specific case, like within relationships, how do I bring out your inner self and to show it at the very best? So it's not about the suit, but some of these guys, for example, it will be something that goes along with that personality type, the beard, the hair, whatever, the muscle, like whatever it is, like understanding what does that go for that. And then for women, it will be, it's interesting, Katrina, like going back to the deserving thing that you mentioned before. Sometimes I am faced with that part of it when women, they feel like they don't deserve it yet, or they feel like they they it's not them yet, right?
Yeah.
Versus sometimes I'm about when we heard this thing together, like we heard this phrase, don't dress to impress, but dress to express.
Yeah.
So a lot of the sometimes a lot of the women that take the plunge, they understand that sometimes isn't about being someone that you're not
No.
yet, but it's about bringing out the lioness, that person that's already in you. You just didn't get the chance to show it, right? So it's just very interesting to hear that. But and you tell me, Katrina, like, have you got some examples of clients where they wouldn't take care of themselves, the relationship was like stale, and then they did something, and then it just like improved?
Yeah, I had a client I worked with for over a year, and initially she came to me for money and business, and she said, I think I've got some blocks because my money's not working. After working with her for a year, it came out, the kids were disrespecting her. She had teenage kids, and she's like, well, they don't listen to me. I'm like, oh, interesting. What's going on there? And so we found and removed the blocks. But not only that, I was able to, as a parent, say, well, you are providing a home and a life lesson for future adults. So you wouldn't allow this sort of thing in the workplace, and you wouldn't allow this sort of thing. And you are worth more than being treated that way, asking them to do it and they don't do it. So it's like, first we started with money, then we started with that. Then after about a year, something came up, and she has actually given me permission to share this story, that I came up with the emotion of shame. And she goes, oh, I was wondering if you knew. And I said, no, what? And I don't read people's energy without permission. So it's not like I sit in a room and go, oh, this one's got that and I know this fear. I don't do that. A, it's very taxing for me, and B, I don't have their permission. So I only do it within the context of a one-on-one client. And Shane came out, and it turns out she had entered into an agreement with her husband to go into a threesome. And then she decided she didn't want to do it anymore. And she said she's been carrying this shame, and, you know, she's just walking around living her life with this, but had no way whatsoever to process it and no way whatsoever. And so I then talked her through all of this. And I'm like, first of all, we can remove the shame. It can be gone from your system. But again, it's communicating. Are you communicating with him? Then this other person was in the community and seeing them, you know, out and about. And you can imagine what all of this brings, what this person is carrying with them. So then once we cleared that, she's like, you've just changed my entire life, because people come to me for one reason, but then it comes out, oh, I'm having a problem in the bedroom. Oh, I'm having a problem with my kids. I'm having a problem at work. The way you do one thing is the way you do all the things. And this is what I'm trying to explain to people, because I work with very high level CEOs. I have a lot of relationships with celebrities and a lot of wealthy people who are absolutely at the top of their game professionally. But it's these people who are my clients, because when they walk through the door of their home, things are not going so well. Their personal life is often in tatters. Outside, the world thinks they've got it all, but inside, they're not having sex. They're not in a healthy relationship. Their kids treat them like shit sometimes, especially really wealthy people, you know, or they've got toddlers that they can't wrangle, or teenagers that just ignore them and crashing cars and get into all sorts of trouble. So this person's self-worth is not, you can't just define it by money, success, and professional success, because at home they feel like a failure. And so we're running this tape, which most people have, is what is wrong with me? I should be able to handle a 2-year-old. I should be able to look good in pink, or I should be able to earn this amount of money, or I should be able to have sex with my wife, damn it. Like, or I should be able to get any guy I want. How many beautiful, wealthy women can't find a decent man to date? Well, this is what they tell me. Again, limiting belief. But it's like, oh, there are no good men out there. I said, that's not true. There's tons of good men out there. There's loads of beautiful men out there. But what are you bringing? If you're sitting opposite a man in a restaurant going, well, there's no good men out there, you're already putting that energy across to him, and he's hearing it and feeling it before you even open your mouth.
So many stories about this. It's like, oh, you know, it's a bloodbath out there. So difficult to meet somebody. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There's a lot of people that I feel, and I feel like it's a mental block versus the reality.
It is. And like you're known as the suit guy, but what you do is so much more than suits. Like you're not the suit guy. And it's the same me. I'm known as the orgasm lady, but what I do is so far beyond, so much deeper, because the part before she's having sex, it's a mindset. What does she think about having sex? And she's thinking ahead, I'm a slut, or I'm a whore if I do this, or I want that, or if I give a blowjob, you know, I'm dirty. You know, she's got the mental clutter in there, and it's like, girl, just relax. Let's get rid of all that shit. Let's have some bloody fun. Like, you only get 75 summers if you're lucky. Have some fun. Let's crap. Like, let's get rid of it and let's live a life. Life is here to be lived. It's not here it's to be enjoyed, not endured. Like, come on. So this is where, and that's when people meet me, as you both met me in person, and you can see there's that energy there, but it's like, oh my God, you're right. Like, I just say something, and I'll give you a quick example. This is not with a client, but we were just at Mega Success with 1,400 people who are all business-minded people. And I met this lady in the line who was telling me about some guy she's with, and, oh, but he's my soulmate. And she's telling me, oh, he's this and that, but he won't sleep with me. And I spent the night at his house and he didn't touch me. I said, okay. And she goes, oh, he says he's not there yet. And I just looked her in the eye and said, so he told you? She goes, oh, yeah, but we're going to be in a relationship, and he's going to be my boyfriend. I love him. I said, but he told you he's not there yet. And I'm like, no, but he told you that he's not there. He cannot meet your needs, and you're going to convince yourself to stay with this guy for a year, 2 years, 3 years. She's going to come back to me.
No way.
But this is what women do. Women do this. They fill in the blanks and they go, oh, but it will be okay. And this is where sex sells marriage. Like, it starts with a wedge and it ends up with a chasm between you, because you're like, oh, it'll be okay, or we'll sort it out later, or just let me build this business, or just let me grow up, let me raise the kids. It's like, it's today's the day.
Yeah.
The day to address this and do something about it, because you don't know how many more summers you're going to get.
Yeah. I want to do something fun with you guys now. I just literally in the spur of the moment, I thought about it, right? I'm gonna ask you rapid fire questions because these are like literally sex questions that everybody wants to know. And now I'm speaking with two sex coaches, and I'm gonna give you 45 seconds each to
All right.
reply it. And I'm gonna stop you on the 45 seconds.
Okay. Good plan.
Cool. Do we
what
want to do
do?
it? Do we want to do Katrina first, me second for each one, just so it flows?
Separate questions or the same question?
Same question for both of you.
Yeah. All right.
So we'll alternate. We'll start with James
Yep.
on the first question, and then we'll go with Katrina
All right.
on the first
Cool.
on the second question. All right. Question number one: open marriages. So, like, having relationships outside of the marriage. Why yes? Why not? Why is not a good idea? Go.
Why yes is if you both can actually have a thing called compersion where you get pleasure from your partner being pleasured, and there's something that you don't want to do with your partner, something you're into, and they're not, you can actually then go separately and explore those things. Why not? Jealousy, if you know that you can't actually have healthy communication, understand your own boundaries, respect your partner's boundaries, it's never going to work. Both can, like a monogamous and an open can work, but it both take work, but an open relationship, a lot of communication.
Love it. Awesome. Katrina, go.
Open marriages?
Yeah.
Yeah. The cons are someone's always going to get hurt, and it could be any one of the thing where someone is going to feel more for that person than the other person, or someone's going to feel rejected, ashamed. And once you've gone there, as I said, I deal with a lot of people in the aftermath of that. But on the yes side, if you are mature enough to be very clear about it, have very careful boundaries and rules like a contract, and able to deal with your own shit and deal with your own ego. These rules for marriage and monogamy were made when people were living 30 years. Now that we're living 70 and 80 years, humans are exploratory people. We are creatures that we like new and interesting things. So if you can handle it, then it can work very successfully for some people. Most people can't handle it, and it doesn't end up being successful.
Love it. Second question is porn in a relationship. When, why, and how? Katrina.
Good side of porn is that it can open your eyes to new things, different things, interesting positions, interesting pleasure points and erogenous zones. So it can be a way to spark conversations. You could say, oh, I'd like to try that, or I wouldn't like to try that. And you can have like a will, won't, want list where you could sort of say, well, I'd like to try that, or that's a no-go zone for me. So in that regard, it opens up our eyes, particularly for monogamous relationships, because if they're only with each other, they don't really know. They've kind of, I brought this, you brought that, let's figure it out. But they're not really having anything added to that, to their sex repertoire. And the bad side is that it can rewire the brain to think that that's normal. We have to remember these are actors. Their body parts are very, very large penises, which is not the normal. Breasts and even the shaved hair, vulva, now is a thing that wasn't a thing 10, 20 years ago. So that is what young boys now who are 12 years old seeing porn before they're having their real first sexual experience. It's very bad for wiring the brain to think what's normal when their real sex experience is not going to be like that. There's a lot of anal, a lot of BDSM things are coming into what kids are seeing before they're ever getting with a human naked. And it's really setting them up for failure and thinking that's what they're going to get when they're very unlikely to be getting that.
Fair enough. James, porn, when, how, and why? Go.
The when, actually the first thing is discovering, like, and having this conversation, is it cheating in the relationship? Because a lot of people have a very different point on that, and you have to be okay with, getting into that relationship with your view being accepted by the other person and that boundary. When you have that agreement, like, it could be, some people don't want to have sex when their partner has their period. So it could be in that week they can, watch a bit more porn. It's obviously bad if it becomes reliant and it affects the sex life that they're having. And I've known some people that have gotten addicted to it and now they're not having sex with their partner. The best ones are going to be when you watch it together, right? And it can be about discovering something together. and new things, or it could be watching it, like role playing it, like and doing the same things. But the next level on that is making your own. So filming some sexy videos together and then watching it back. And if you want to go again to a little bit higher level, having sex to your own video back, like, and just having a lot of fun with it.
Oh, that's crazy. I love it. I love it. All right. Role play, like within a relationship. How and why? James.
So yep. So roleplay can be a great novelty thing. So finding out like what are the things that excite your partner? Could it be the being pulled over by the police officer? Could it be the teacher, schoolboy, schoolgirl thing, the librarian, like all those things? But it is about like figuring out because there are different levels to this. Is it just like we're just in these roles and we're taking on different names? Is it that we have like this entire backstory? Like there is like all this stuff going on. And a really fun one for a lot of people to dip their toe in is the meeting each other at the bar and actually like picking each other up, like dressing in your elegant stuff and then having that little thing, like, and creating those entire backstories and getting really into it. I think that's a great first level for people to jump into. If they're excited by that, then it's like, cool, what other fantasies and desires do you have? Characters from movies that you love, actors growing up, like all of that is all on the table. But just again, being clear on what do we want to get out of this experience? Because someone might be thinking, oh, we're just pretending you're just going to call me this name, rather than, oh, I actually want you to behave like this and have like that build up into the scene and the role play compared to, oh, we're just jumping in the bedroom with a wig on.
I remember there's like a family, Modern Family
Yep.
scene. And there was like I don't know if I quote it correctly, but he was something like, if your wife is so great, like, why are you doing here with me? And it's like, because I respect her too much to do to her the things that I want to do to you.
Great line.
It was really cool. It was really cool. Okay, role play, Katrina, go.
Yeah, it's, as I said, we love variety. So you can absolutely have a very various sex life with the one person for your entire relationship. And it's a way to have that fantasy fulfilled. A lot of people have the superhero thing or, the trading showing up at the door thing. And it's a way to where women expect men to know what they're doing, but they don't want to tell them what to do. So men are not mind readers. So in the bedroom in sex, particularly when it's early on, but even as the relationship goes, men are not mind readers, but women have trouble verbalizing it a lot of the time. So if you are to do something like that, it's like, if we were to play fantasy, what would you like? What would you like? It's a way to just start it. But if you could pre-script a little bit, it's like, well, then I'd love him to touch me here or this way or do this. Then he's already got that in his head. So then you can just play it out and fulfill it. But of course, it's having fun. And a lot of people are just so closed-minded to the fun and joy and frivolity and all the spontaneity of sex, where it's so much fun. And you can do something like that. It can be very orderly and organized beforehand as far as costume, scenario, like the scene script. But then on the moment, just go with it. But it's like anything you haven't done before. You're not going to be perfect or great the first time. You might lose your way or stumble your words, and it's okay. It's just, sex is supposed to be so much fun. So, go for it. Like, there are so many different ways to experience different things, and why not have a go and try things, and at least try it once, especially if it's something your partner would really love, because you can give that gift to them even if it wasn't your first choice of a way to spend the evening.
I love it. I love it. Toys. We touched a bit just before, but pros, cons, why yes, why not?
Okay, yeah, toys. Okay, with yes, you think of this phone. You and I were not sitting across the room with a tin can and a piece of string between us. We found a better way to communicate via a computer and phone. So we're using tools to enhance our lifestyle of what is currently available. We're not shouting off mountains or sending carrier pigeons or telegrams anymore. So tools can enhance life. So sex toys have been, certainly in the last 5 years, have come a long way as far as their production, and their things like vibrators and dildos for women have different shapes now, because women's vaginas are differently shaped. There's different points and adjustable things. We've now got AI remote. So if a couple long distance relationship can have one toy each and remotely tell it what to do or be touching it or doing it, so it's almost like that person was there. I think they can have a place in a relationship, but like anything, they can become addictive. There can be ways where certain people could only orgasm or only have the height of pleasure only with the toy, and that can be problematic because there is so much to be said for skin-to-skin human contact too with real-life person. As I deal with women and men who are also lonely and grieving post-breakup and often post-trauma, unfortunately, I deal with a lot of rape victims and a lot of trauma victims from abortion, miscarriage, or sexual assault. So in that regard, where they're not ready to be with a physical man, sex toys can play a little part in their healing as far as bringing them to orgasm to still get the benefits for orgasm without having to be vulnerable in front of a human when they're not ready yet. So
Yeah.
it has its place, but we also have to proceed with caution, ideally person to person, but it can enhance a really fun time with good boundaries and good mindset and awareness.
Fair enough. Fair enough. James, toys. When, why,
Yep.
and how fun can they be?
About toys.
I am all for toys, and it's funny because I'm coming from that male perspective of growing up. Like, if you need toys or lube, you're not enough of a man. You're not doing a good job. So it took like an experience with an ex to break through that and actually find the complete love of it. And what I try and teach clients now and the guys that still struggle with that a little bit is it's like if you watch an old martial arts movie, when they're talking about like learning the sword, it is just an extension of you. The same thing is with the toy, it is just an extension of you. Now, like Katrina said, there is like that addictive quality, or some people can become desensitized, so they need more and more stimulation through it. But if you're one of those people, just being aware of it, and you should always have like awareness around like how you're feeling with toys, your partner, and all this kind of stuff. But if you know that, like, again, all four toys, and Katrina mentioned one of my favorite ones, which is the remote control one. So it is like you can go out for a date night. It is that, and like just look like around the restaurant or walk around like the city gardens and just like play and tease and just create this big fantasy. And that toy specifically is a massive, massive fantasy for so many women. And it's becoming like going more and more around online. I'm constantly seeing different versions of this and women being like, yes, when will someone do this for me? And I've had the same thing, like talking to women being like, I've always wanted this, but no guy has ever wanted to do this with me. So it is a real quick and easy one for like to be like, hey, I'm down, like let's try this out. And it can be for that long distance. So, still playing with each other. Like Trina touched on, like Lovense is my favorite brand. I'm not affiliated in any way, but I love theirs connectivity, everything. Yeah, but toys will just enhance experiences. They're not supposed to replace. They're just supposed to add, and again, that novelty. And there are going to be certain experiences that you can only do with a toy. But even then, your partner is still going to give that like credit to you. They're not going to be thinking, oh, the toy did this to me. They're going to be like, my partner gave me this experience.
So it's toys, but with controlled by the partner. So that's why like it's like that extension. I like it.
You want to know a secret, Bruno? Do you want to know a secret? James and I have already been in conversation whether we should come out with a toy, and we already had conversations. But talked about a lot of things about market AI. Could we be beaten or priced out of the market? But we talked about it already, didn't we? Could we bring?
I love it. You can. You sure can. You sure can.
People put down your dollars and we'll make it happen.
Cosplay for like the people that are into it. So let's say, I don't know, like, the manga, Japanese, whatever, that stuff. Or, for the people that are not into it, will be like dressing up. So like, guys for like a suit, girls, revealing dresses or short dress. Katrina, plus and minuses, cosplay or dressing up?
Yeah, I mean, life again, why not try anything? Because particularly if it's something your partner is so into, there's that friend scene where they talk about the Princess Leia in the gold bikini as she shows up, and then at the same time he was talking about his mother, and then she shows up in his vision as his mother. And our mind is the sexiest organ, right? Because we can create anything. You can go forward, backward. You could think of an old memory with an old lover, or you could think, really, I'd like to try some of that in the future, So it's a beautiful way to explore something. It's a beautiful gift you can give to someone. And we're all watching movies, and who hasn't wanted to be in a movie at one point of their life and have that movie scene? So why not? Absolutely. It's something that can be so much fun, so memorable, as opposed to just as James said, vanilla eye contact, missionary, once a week, once a month. It's not gonna really get anybody anything to brag about to their mates. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So live your life, and your sex life should be so amazing and incredible, and be a great book that no one else gets to read, because it is between the two of you. Or let's say, go for it if you want to write about it. Reasons. And also looking your best, as I was going to say before with Bruno was talking about the suits and different other outfits, you should always put your best foot forward, because you have natural great things about your look. You were made this way for a reason and purpose. I believe that God made each of us with a purpose and a reason. So accentuating your best features and your best attributes is absolutely your job. It might be your hair, it might be your lips, it might be a breast, it might be a butt, it might be a height, it might be your smile or laughter, anything. You should always put that forward, because that is your unique gift. And there are ways that you can dress up or style based on your shape and your color and the shape of your face and your skin tone and all sorts of things. And if you don't naturally know that, there are people such as Bruno and Angela, or stylists, or people that will say actually blue looks better on you, or greens or pinks or reds or whatever they are. And so knowing all of that and getting a little bit of information can go a really long way into putting your best foot forward. It could even be a tracksuit or a hoodie that you're wearing at home, but if that color really brings out your eyes or your style, it's going to be much more attractive to your partner, other than just a gray thing with tears in it that you haven't washed in 3 weeks. So
Wait. So are you saying that if you dress as Falcone, you'll have more sex?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
We're going for a three-way collaboration now. Ripping all the buttons. It's ripping those buttons off, Bruno. There might be like a 5 set of shirts,
Oh man, that's funny.
On that note though, like for single guys, like being well dressed, like I said, it doesn't just like make the other person perceive you just because you're better dressed, you're better looking. For a lot of people, being dressed, seeing themselves in that confident thing, their sub-communications, the way they behave, the way they think completely changes. So they will actually start showing up more confident and doing all these like little things that they didn't before. Maybe they start standing up straighter. They start taking, even with the hygiene, everything. And it raises their standards. So going back to that point about, oh, it's a bloodbath, there's no good women, no men. Maybe it's because you're not putting effort into how you look, your hygiene, all that stuff. So your standards are on the floor, so you're only attracting that. But when you put that effort in, now you're attracting higher quality men and women.
I mean, like, and this is like me before doing what I do. Like, this is like me, in my teenage years and then later in my early 20s. I mean, me dressing up, it will give me a superpower walking into the club or the bar. I promise you. So I like to think that I would have done the same things even if I wasn't dressed up, but because it was part of my personality, again, personal branding. It was me. My personal branding was dressing up, walking into a bar, walking into a club. I would be able to just like walk straight to what I want and get it. Like it's just like a state of mind, and it's almost like I was putting myself in a position of control. So like probably like that's one of the things that I learned like whenever I was a teenager. Again, I was like very lucky in a sense when going into school, like I would have like a direct reaction, right? Like I experimented different styles, different fits, different looks, and different ways to be. And then it kind of like, as I was experimenting, I realized, I said, oh, so the way I present myself, I have control over how I am perceived. So then literally, this is like me as a teenager, early 20s, they understood the power and of the control over how people might see me or how people will react to me. So then obviously now, like, in my 40s and dealing with within the business world and how important personal branding is, then that is why I don't do suits. I am there to give a voice to the person that wants to have an impact in the community or just have that next yes, right? So
Yes.
it went from I'm gonna get a yes at the bar with a girl that I like to I'm gonna get yes in the next sale or in the partnership that I want to get or in a room full of strangers. I will claim attention so my business can succeed more. So like it's very interesting like that part of it. But like literally what you said before, the bloodbath and that's why I feel that I don't understand it because I feel like if you attract attention as a single person, uh, you will still get your choice. You still be able to work with it, right?
Yeah.
Mm. Well, on what you're saying, like I was a bit the opposite. So growing up, like I didn't really have any idea around fashion, putting effort into the clothing I wore, just like the same thing over and over. So going back to pretty much where we started, I didn't feel confident. I didn't think I was attractive. I didn't think girls liked me. And it was all this self-fulfilling prophecy because I never put any effort into how I looked. Once I started putting some effort into that, also understanding like social skills, all that kind of stuff, it was like, oh, I'm actually way more attractive. And I believe that. And then I started like getting more attention, getting numbers, like going home with girls. And it's like, oh, I actually am attractive. I am confident, which is it all came from just like the personal development, like as a whole. But again, I would still believe I was not attractive if I didn't start dressing better. And the quality of the women I was getting was way lower. Like if I could get them, was still way lower compared to the quality of women that I get now when I have all the skills, all the knowledge I've learned, but also the way I take care of myself now and the standards that I set for myself and standards I set for the women that come into my life.
Absolutely.
I think you got the effect of competence. So
Hmm.
I mean people hear all the time. I heard it this morning. I heard it yesterday. Confidence comes with
Hmm.
competence. So
Yeah.
Yep.
from in a position where things weren't happening, and then you change something, and then a little step at a time would change the trajectory of your journey. So whenever and I mean like whenever I work with somebody, they might be unheard. They might be the person that nobody comments on, and then as soon as there were something that I make for them, that's when they get the compliment or they get the attention, and then their confidence grows with
Hmm.
time. It does straight away as soon as they see themselves in the mirror, but like literally, because we so lucky, all of us, like we're part of the same community with JT Fox, and like it's great because all of us are going to the same direction. We very strong, we business oriented, and but the people that I looked after last year, and then I saw them over the year, and then I see them now. I really see like that difference in the way that they speak, the way they are approached by other people, and it's so beautiful because like I hear that like this very nice stories because they themselves they will recognize it and they'll come to me and they're like, like I feel beautiful, I feel attractive, or there'll be like so many people come and like comment, or so many people like they approach me, and sometimes they never experienced that before. So it's so interesting, that power, like that control, like over how you're perceived, and I feel like you don't know until when you experience it, which is the difficulties on everyone's business ownership. So like with you guys, if somebody don't experience it, they don't know what they're missing out on. And same thing with our custom suit, until when they experience it, they don't know what they're missing out on. The last quick question, random question, is actually to you guys. One more question, and then I'll do the last one. So like power control, meaning it could be like all the whole extreme. slave and master, or like a softer version of that in the relationship, more specifically in sex? Uh, how, why yes, why no? Katrina, go.
Yeah, there tends to be an inverse proportion sometimes with people who are very high, powerful in their job, making decisions all day. They want to come home and in sex, not have to think about it, not have to decide, just having their partner know what they like and just pleasure, 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 and not having to think. And other people who are very submissive or more quiet in the bedroom, that can be the complete opposite. But as humans, we have that scale. Like you said, we all have different things with us. Some people, like the 50 Shades of Grey, was very eye-opening for a lot of people, because the BDSM world, if you actually read the book and read into it, it's not about the violence per se. It's that expression of him. And in the end, when it was a love story, that we all come from childhoods that imprint us on different ways. We all have this array of emotions, and no emotions are bad, but some emotions, sex isn't always love. You can have hate sex with a partner that you're so mad at, but just because you've already got the safety and the consent, having angry sex at them can be a way to relieve the stress. And both of you just like, it's like you need a good, sometimes. I don't know for your audience what words I can say or not say, but sometimes that is just the answer. It's like, shut up, get naked, let's go. Like, that's everything. We don't need to talk it all out. I don't need to hear about your feelings. We just need to have the sex, and then they'll be better. Like what you're saying before, that people grow in confidence. I mean, I can tell when someone is having great orgasms because their energy is different. And again, we see someone who's under sex, or I first meet them and they're kind of like, what do you do? Or, I didn't realize. Or do you help in this area? I'm like, sure I do. Because
I sure do.
all of it relates to all of it. And when you're saying before, you go from a yes to the date, yes in business, and I'm like, then we go to oh my God, yes in the bed. We want those yeses all the time. So I think absolutely, and in the confines of a meaningful, safe, respectful, consensual relationship, that is where all of the other stresses, fractures, annoyances, grievances of a day, that's where sex, and it can be anything from just making slow, sweet love to absolutely,
So wait. So if you're saying that if you look and feel good, you say yes to the business, yes from the partner, and then
oh my God, yes.
I love it.
And the more sex you have, the more orgasms you have, the more money you make. The more money you make, the more orgasms you have. And when people go, oh, well, I should be making a lot of money, I'm like, maybe you're not doing the orgasms right. Or people are always
you need more orgasm in your life.
I'm like, when you have more orgasms, watch the bank balance. Like, let's talk.
All right, James. James, control. So the power dynamic, how, why, and what are the good and bad things?
Yeah, so in that kind of community, that kind of relationship, there is the negatives of it. There are a lot of people, especially in the control aspect, that are actually abusive. So they use it as a way to lure people in. But what Katrina said is consensual. There is a thin line sometimes between what is abuse and what is an amazing experience, and that line is consent. So the same act can literally be like seen as either one, depending on where it comes from. And that place is like from love, right? So when you're in that dominant space, it comes from love. I'm doing this thing because it's in the best interest of my partner. It's an experience that they want to do that gives them pleasure. So there are people that love pain, the masochist side, but it's not pain in a bad way. I'm not inflicting pain to hurt you. I'm inflicting pain because it's bringing you pleasure and excitement. So understanding those things. Also not diving into the deep end and doing the extremes like straight away, like building that competence and confidence in the experience, having really strong communication, really strong boundaries, understanding what you are okay with, what you're not trying to appease your partner and agree to something that you're not okay with doing, having that excitement. So strong boundaries, strong trust is a huge thing as well, especially if you want to go like down like the deep rabbit hole of that. But ultimately, for a lot of people, they recharge in this. So they're, in general terms, like a lot of women in the feminine, they want to be submissive. They want to just like switch their mind off. let the guy take control, do everything that he wants, as long as she knows everything he does is going to feel amazing, that it's in her best interest, nothing is going to be against her boundaries or anything like that. For a lot of men, they do like to be able to take on that control. There is also switching, so people that like to explore both sides of that. But ultimately, it's recharging. So a woman who like is in business every day, and like some of the most powerful women I know are like the most submissive in the bedroom. Like they want to be completely feminine. Again, switching off. Katrina said same with men. There are a lot of men that just want to switch off as well, but there are also a lot of men that when they go into that control and dominant side, they get this like hyper focus, and that's the thing that actually recharges them. So it's understanding what you like, desire, what effect it has on you, and also ultimately like why you desire the thing you do, so that you have a better understanding of the experiences that you want to have. And this can also go down to how you pick your partner, making sure that you are aligned sexually with the right compatibility with that.
I love it. Love it. Now, so the last questions, it was the one that was going to ask you before. To each and to both of you, last thoughts. What have I missed in this interview? Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to talk about within the the sex life, relationships? You're more than welcome to have the floor. Katrina, you can start.
Yeah, the thing is that we just don't know what's possible. If you just look at how much sex has changed in the last year, 5 years, 10 years, like 10 years ago when I first started writing about orgasms, multiple orgasms were not really spoken about, and in that time, we've become a lot more open. Whereas if you look at our Mother's Day and our grandmother's day, and I was very fortunate, I had a very open relationship with my grandmothers, aunties, my mum, we've had a lot of conversations about sex and relationships around the table. So I grew up that was normal thing to talk about. A lot of people haven't had that. So we have all these ideas, but we only know what we know. And the world is changing very fast. And with AI, actually, it's going to change again. And we have an opportunity to figure out what's the upper limit. What's the upper limit of pleasure? Who knows? But let's find out. What have you tried? What have you not tried? And it's about, as I said, what I really specialize in is the mindset, the rapid mindset shift. Because if you're just like James mentioned before, period sex, that was not a thing, till really quite recently. It's certainly that people are talking about. It was pretty much a given for a lot of people is that week, there's no sex because that, but nowadays people are open to that. And, there's so many different things. And anal sex has come in over the years where it was very just hush hush or not spoken about, and it's spoken about. And, I can teach someone how to have 7 orgasms in one go. And then it's like, well, how many times can you then repeat the orgasm? And I just think it's one thing with sex, pleasure, and orgasm. There's no downside. It's not, it's going to be helping with anti-aging. It helps with stress release. You just glow for days. It will help you with weight loss and focus in your business, making more money. The downside possibly is skin irritation. And we, as James said, there's lubrication and there's other ways to do that. Or there's a whole map of erogenous zones on a woman's body in particular, but also men. And so if one area is a little bit sensitive or, doesn't feel nice at that point, there's a whole rest of the body to explore. So I just want people to open up their minds, have more sex, have more fun, have more orgasms, and have more pleasure, and then see how that radiates out into all the other areas of your life, and success and abundance and compliments and all the beautiful things just falling into your lap.
That's it. I love it. Great words. James, last thoughts, anything that we didn't touch?
One fun thing.
Pun intended. Anything that we didn't touch.
Pun is always intended with that.
Something Katrina touched on, the whole like you don't know what you don't know. Like at 23, I thought I knew everything there was to know about sex, So, but it's like over the years, like I've gone deeper and deeper with experiences, having those those talks with my partner, and understanding like her mind and her body to whole new levels that I never would have even like conceived of before, right? So that being okay with having those conversations just means you are going to have a better relationship, better sex overall, which is again what we all want. And more studies are coming out that are like around sex studies, which are great. So kink relationships that are healthy tend to last longer and be happier and have better sex. Having sex the night before or the morning, you actually are more productive, you do better, like you perform better, all this kind of stuff. So like there is no reason to be shunning it, putting it away when sex has so many like positives on your life. But for especially the guys, there is an element of like us thinking we know everything, we're the most amazing. There is a chance your past like partners have faked before and they were just trying to, protect your ego. Women never fake an orgasm. I spoke with one girl, she faked it the first night with a guy because she thought she was never going to see him again. 4-year relationship later, he thought he had his super secret special move that was just awful. And every single time for 4 years, she had to keep, pretending through that thing, to the degree that he was then going to his friends, telling them about the super secret move so that they could use it on their partners. So like faking orgasms, lying about it, it's not going to be any good because you're never going to get pleasured the way that you want to be pleasured. Guys, if she's trying to guide you and show you, then let her. Don't take it as offensive, right? One of the things I teach guys is that a woman's body is like a labyrinth or a maze. It can be a lot of fun to stumble around in the dark and try and like figure it all out. But if you can't, if you've enjoyed your time, but you're just not getting there, get the map and the torch, and that is asking her. And again, it's not bad to ask. She's going to actually appreciate that because at the end of the day, she's going to want to see you again and have a lot more sex with you if you give her a good experience. There is no downside to asking her. She's not going to think, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Instead, she's going to think, holy crap, like this guy actually wants to do more with me and he can communicate. What else can I do with him? What else can we do together? Like there is no downside to stronger communication around it.
I love it, guys. Look, we spoke about taboos. We talked about the fun parts of sexuality, but I think it was very important for us to have this conversation because I feel like more people now know and will know that there's a lot to do. Sex, it has a lot to do with communication, with self-worth, self-doubts, with wanting to be more yourself, your skin, be confident. And there's a lot of areas that has a importance and effect on it. We talked about how it's important to understand our partners and listen, hear, have a clear communication, clear highway, and understanding them. We talked about how important it is for us to do, each and one of us to do our research on the inside and understand, what are our limitations, what are the things that stop us from going forward to reaching our next level. And then we even talked about the outside. So like how each and every one of us, by being our best selves, hygiene and looking after ourselves, presenting ourselves in our very best way can lead to better relationships, better sex, and then even really having that, that better lifestyle in general where, things start to happen. People say yes to you. People say yes in business, more money, more orgasm, more money, and more orgasm again. So it's been incredible, like talking to the both of you. I sincerely hope that this would open the floodgate to people wanting to reach out and really having a little bit more of an open mind and yeah, let's normalize sex, shall we?
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you so much again.